So we've established now that Donald Trump is actually not anti-war, not anti-neocon, but at least he's for free speech. And at least he's for not allowing the government to interfere with free speech and, keeping ideas from free flowing. The government should not get involved in promulgating what ideas go out. Well, here's Donald Trump putting out one of his policy videos. I don't know if people are going to fully realize when you first hear this just how effing nuts this is. And I will say this, and I said it in 2016. I would bet this has already happened. But if you look at the ETFs of private universities, they just shot up. They create basically a little mutual funds of just like publicly owned private universities, publicly owned in terms of shareholders. There's a bunch of those. These are big business. They get a minimum of 90% of their annual revenue comes from government loans. Minimum. And that's only because the Biden administration shifted the policy where you get 90% of your revenue from government loans. The other 10% could have been veterans loans, which incidentally is also from the government, but they just discluded that. They have put it into, under the Biden administration, they said, well, we're including veterans loans too, because that's government loans. So you got to go out into the private marketplace and find some bank that's willing to finance these student loans for the other 10%. And they barely could do it. And now this is Donald Trump basically telling them, don't worry. Not only am I going to take all regulations off of for-profit universities who have a history of ripping people off, even things like Trump University.
Tuition costs in colleges and universities have been exploding.
I'm also going to use this same authority that's going to unleash the forces to allow for these private universities to essentially profiteer off of the misery and desperation of people. I'm also going to use it to intimidate all other universities that don't get government funds.
Tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding. While academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth, the time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the
That's actually not the primary purpose. It's partly. The purpose is to make sure that people are getting an actual legitimate education. And he is now going to use this as leverage to force all universities, on one hand, to do what he's about to propose, and then also to let other ones off the hook and allow them to essentially scam people.
Like Trump University, which was unaccredited, 100%. Which he was sued over. So it's rich for him to say, it's called accreditation for a reason. Well, you would know, buddy, because you lost a bunch of money with your unaccredited garbage school.
Ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions.
Okay, well, that's good. Now, I am okay, and this is also a teachable moment for Republicans and libertarians. I am not against regulation. But there are regulations I am against. So it's one thing to regulate based upon some type of generic educational and pedagogical standards to determine whether someone's actually getting a baseline for an education. It's another to say, we're going to impose curriculums on you, or you're not going to qualify as an educational institution. And that's what he's talking about here.
Yep.
That's what he's talking about. And I can go Google ETF for-profit colleges. They will know the truth right there. These are for-profit universities that target very often, one of their primary targets are African-American women in their 20s or 30s who are at work. They have no college degree. They are finding they're bumping up against a ceiling, and they are convinced that if they get that college degree, they're going to be able to move their careers forward. And they get student loans from the government. These for-profit universities basically, there you go. Bingo.
Nice.
Education stocks rally with Trump seen as benefiting for-profit colleges. They know.
Love that education
for-profit prisons.
A part of our speculative marketplace. That seems like a healthy way to
They know.
Society.
They know. Well, that's what a lot of charter schools are too, and that's why they want to get rid of the Department of Education.
That's a part of Project 2025, which Matt Walsh was gloating about, saying, "Actually, we were lying. LOL. It was.
Of course.
It was the plan all along."
Of course, it was.
But at least Trump's funny on in memes and things like that. That kind of works out for
We'll
the country.
see if tying educational accreditation standards to the nature of the curriculum being taught, pro-American holds up in court. But really, if it doesn't, he still achieved what he really wants to do, which is to loosen the accreditation standards for these for-profit colleges that you just saw their stocks went through the roof. All right. I got on my hobby horse there about that, but this is what
it was
going to be a series of things.
That was disturbing. It sounded like Stephen Miller wrote that. And by the way, sorry?
The Western civilization part.
Yeah, and the lesson that Trump took from the first administration essentially is that we're not wasting my time with the Reince Priebus's of the world. So Stephen Miller is going to be extremely senior and probably acting with urgency, given the fact that they feel like they were thwarted by the establishment Republicans last time around.
Andrew from Vermont. I'm going to read this one I am. I'm a few years younger than Sam, and I've only voted Dem, except for Nader, my entire life. The smug, way off base post-election takes from most of the Democratic establishment makes me want to only vote third party from now on. A, let me say these type of tweets you should wait on. And B, honestly, if you're going to fashion your politics around like this type of sort of like a grievance to your sensitivities, then you don't have any politics. You don't have any politics. This is honestly like the equivalent of, somebody was mean to me at a cocktail party and therefore I'm against Medicare for all. I mean, this is, of course, the Joe Scarboroughs, of course, the Nancy Pelosi's, of course, whomever are going to come out and they're going to attempt to influence the future of the party in a direction that they want it to go. And you can be offended by that. And you can say, since they're going to engage in this competition, I'm going to walk
Give them
away
what they want.
and give them what they want and spend my time, doing nothing, essentially just, running on some type of treadmill where even if I was to, get off it, it wouldn't be for anything. I mean, by all means, go organize third-party folks for your local elections. Very helpful in the long run. But to get turned off because they're engaging in some type of political fight and they're on the other side and your response is, then I'm going to take my ball and go home. Like, what are you doing?
If you have more contempt for liberals than the fascists right now, I think you really have to kind of reorient your worldview at this point. We can say like we're contemptuous towards them for getting us in this situation, but right now the task in front of us right now is resisting this extremist presidency that now has essentially unchecked power. So, and that includes...
And they're out. Like, they're out of the hole, and we can chase them. Like, I think time is actually now to, like, fight them, not
100%.
Not, like, remove the battle. Like, now is actually time to go to their necks.
100%.
And they have nothing to defend themselves.
I'm okay with having more contempt for those people than anybody else, but you can chew gum and walk at the same time. It's irrelevant, but as long as your contempt for them is not like, oh, I know I'm going to show them, they're going to get everything they want.
I'm resigning.
Like, that's not, that is the worst use of your contempt. I think the contempt is fine, frankly.
Right. All I'm trying to say is make it proportional and make it so that, like, we're clear-eyed about what we have in front of us right now.
100%. But, and you should be able to have, enough contempt to go around. But yeah, this is a time, and this in particular is when a lot of like these sort of like, because in 6 to 8 months ago now, we're going to barely have any type of memory of this, and people's ideas of what this election about and why they failed is going to get cemented. So this is not the time to say they're being stupid. I'm not going to engage in an argument with them. This is the time to say they're being stupid, and I'm going to win this argument.
And honestly, the quality of the people who are making this argument right now, it's diminished. Like in 2016, there were a lot of wrong lessons learned, but at least we have these folks like Chris Murphy in the Senate who are acknowledging the problem very directly. Like, it's still more of the cranks and the radical centrists and the Seth Moultons who are making the cases that they are. But they're fewer and further between. This is such a failure in so many ways that I'm a little bit more hopeful, although, gosh, it's hard to be right now, that they're going to learn some lessons from this. But we have to make sure that we're militant about that.
Small D Democrat. How do y'all think the fact that Trump can only serve one more term will affect his administration's attitude approach to governing? I mean, I think he is going to basically say, guys, I want this part over here that's going to make me all the money. And you guys report into me once every couple of weeks and tell me how the rest of it's going. And that's about it.
I mean, he already didn't do any work his first time around. Like, there were reports that his staff would take things off of his desk so he wouldn't sign it and he would just forget about it because he would impulsively ask for something. He's going to basically probably, I think, do a Dick Cheney and just like give all the stuff he doesn't want to have to worry about over to JD Vance, which is almost scarier than It would have been if he was just acting off the cuff.
We're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to come back in the fun half. We're going to take some of your phone calls. We'll take some of your IMs. And, bear with us as we try and sort of like step back and
calibrate our emotions. But,
during this the next couple of weeks, we're going to be contemplating like, what's the direction of the show. People have been very rude to me on the left. And one of the things that I, feel strongly about is that I can't speak my mind without being criticized.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. And so, therefore, we're joining the Daily Wire.
Someone called you a man with testicles or a person with testicles, and now it's time to...
Yes, I was referred to as a person with testicles. Small testicles, but nevertheless.
That was the least insulting part of it.
That was the least insulting part of it. Look, we're gonna every couple of years we sort of reorient the show. It's subtle at different times, and it's more or less dramatic at other times, and some of it happens organically, and some of it happens like, oh, we're not gonna do Mondays is gonna be a book day anymore, or Tuesdays is news day, or something like that. We're give us a little bit of time. And we're going to work it out. It's not something that I hadn't contemplated before, but really you don't have a sense until something like this happens of what sometimes the answer is. There have been work, I've been impressed by people like Pritzker in Illinois, who they spent a lot of time in the past month or two, I guess, looking at Project 2025 and figuring out what they can do as a state to inhibit some of the things. And you've got, places like Massachusetts, and you've got California and other places saying like, we're not helping with this deportation or whatnot. So, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to... we're going to switch the fun half to constructive criticism half.
Oh.
Yep.
No good news that we can point to in the fun half? I'm struggling to...
Kanye will be looked at as someone that saved the Jews.
Yeah, maybe. What's the good news?
Well, we'll go over some of Tim Pool today, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and we have some good news.
What can you do with this?
Jesse Waters has nowhere to go for Thanksgiving, but we'll talk about
that.
Jesse Waters' mom is like an actual therapist or something like that, right? Dr. Ann Waters. I didn't know that, which makes kind of the subplot of them having
It totally makes sense. I mean, that type of stuff happens all the time. It's like, what was that show? Family, the one that Michael J. Keaton, Michael J. Fox is on as Alex P. Keaton. The Family Ties or something like that. Whatever. Folks, your support makes this show possible. You can become a member and join the literally tens of you who have become members this week alone as a way to support our efforts going forward. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.